All right, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. Today, we're looking at a frankly fascinating but deeply complicated situation unfolding right now in the Philippines. So, on one hand, we've got this multi-billion-dollar economic boom that is generating absolutely massive revenue for the country. But on the flip side, we are witnessing a nationwide social crisis. It's impacting families, draining life savings, and really challenging lawmakers. So, how in the world did an industry grow this quickly? And what happens when the ultimate convenience of the digital era collides with the deeply human vulnerability of addiction? Well, we're going to unpack exactly what the data and, more importantly, the human stories reveal about this rapidly shifting landscape. Here is exactly where we're headed today. First, we'll cover the digital casino boom. Then, we'll look at the human cost. Third, fighting the addiction. And finally, the path forward. Section 1. The digital casino boom. Let's look at this rapid expansion. To really understand where we are today, we kind of have to look back to 2022. That's when the government actually legalized online casinos to help out with pandemic-strained finances. Now, up until then, the Philippines already had a pretty prominent physical gambling industry, but the goal here was to use a chunk of digital sales to fund crucial medical services and public works. But guys, the scale of what happened next literally took everyone by surprise. We are talking about an estimated 30 million registered user accounts right now, spread across 65 online casino businesses operating in the country. To put that massive adoption into perspective, in just the first 9 months of recent tracking, these platforms reported having 6 million monthly active users. People weren't just signing up, they were highly active. And you know, that explosive user adoption, it translates to some truly astronomical financial growth. Back in 2022, yearly sales for the industry sat at about 130 million US dollars. Fast forward to today, and that number has skyrocketed to around $2.3 billion. That is just incredible growth over a really short period. But this absolute tidal wave of revenue has set up a highly complex reality, and it's introduced a rapidly deepening social concern: mass gambling addiction. Before we dive into the very real human cost behind all those billions, if you're finding this breakdown insightful so far, please take a quick second to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us keep making these deep dive explainers for you. Section 2. The human cost. It's time to step away from the abstract revenue numbers and look at the personal reality on the ground. Take Milvin Corsa. He's a 49-year-old who started playing out of sheer pandemic boredom. But eventually, he lost over 100 grand, his savings, and literally his own wedding ring. But as Milvin himself notes, the biggest loss wasn't even the money, it was his time. Time he should have spent watching his kids grow up. So why did this happen so incredibly fast? Well, it's because these apps are just dangerously accessible. Let's break down the mechanics here. First, the barrier to entry is basically non-existent. You can place bets for as little as 1 single peso. Second, they have full e-payment integration, so you don't even need cash on hand, you just deposit digitally. Third, when you run out of funds, the apps feature seamless online borrowing. And finally, the constant targeted mobile ads. Milvin talks about getting 3 to 5 text ads every single day and seeing them constantly on YouTube. This whole combination has allowed the apps to spread like wildfire, even reaching low-income groups in areas like Tondo, which is the largest slum in Manila. This quote from McVin is just chillingly honest. He said, "You're in the toilet gambling, I'm in the car driving gambling." He explains that, physical casinos actually required effort. You had to physically drive to Manila. But with a casino living right inside your cell phone, everyday mundane moments turn into relentless triggers. There is simply no escape from the venue when the venue is always in your pocket. And this crisis has caused a fascinating yet tragic demographic shift in who is actually seeking help. There's a dedicated support line in the Philippines that used to get maybe 1 or 2 calls a day. Now, they're fielding well over 20 calls daily. And here's the really wild part. 60% of those calls are coming from women. Why is that? Well, in many Filipino households, the mother is the one who handles the family's financial budgeting. So as family savings are just completely depleted by this addiction, these women are the ones left desperately trying to recover the lost funds. And sometimes they even fall into the trap themselves while working overseas in places like Hong Kong. We're about to zoom back out to see how society is fighting back against this crisis. But first, just a quick reminder to support the channel. Hit that like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts so far, and subscribe to keep exploring these crucial topics with us. Section 3, Fighting the Addiction. Let's look at the push for recovery.
Because government support has kind of struggled to provide enough aid, nonprofit organizations have really had to step up to fill that massive gap. At the forefront of this is an NPO founded by a guy named Reagan Profosa. Now, back in his 20s, Reagan actually won big at a Las Vegas casino, but that win completely hooked him, and he eventually spiraled into over $800,000 of debt. After going to rehab, he realized something really important. There were support groups for drugs and alcohol everywhere, but nothing specifically for the unique triggers of gambling. So he studied psychology, got his counseling credentials, and started helping others back in 2011. Today, his NPO has over 10,000 members, ranging all the way from teenagers to senior citizens, and they offer a 24/7 hotline and daily online counseling. Meanwhile, lawmakers in the Senate are locked in these intense debates about whether to restrict or just totally ban these apps. And it's a profound dilemma for the government. On one side, legal sites pay taxes for society and are subject to government regulation. But if you ban them, cybercrime experts like Ronald Gustilo warn it players are just going to migrate over to illegal underground sites. And those platforms pay zero taxes and use highly predatory tactics, like offering artificial bonuses. Basically, if you load 100 pesos, they'll just give you 200 for free. This obviously creates an even higher addiction risk with absolutely zero consumer protection. Authorities have stopped around 20,000 of these illegal sites, but they literally just keep multiplying.
So, faced with a very real threat of a total ban from the Senate, the major legal operators are scrambling to self-regulate. Take DigiPlus, for example. This is a company whose sales increased 20-fold in just the last 3 years. They've rolled out a 3-step effort. Step 1, they're actually broadcasting mass media TV ads explicitly telling players to pause. Step 2, they've added features allowing players to set strict daily hour limits. And Step 3, the app will now automatically suspend gameplay when a player's losses hit a preset financial limit. It's completely counterintuitive, right? A casino paying for ads to tell you not to play? But they are desperate to prove to the government that they can actually operate responsibly.
All right, we are almost at our conclusion, where we'll look at the poignant road to recovery. If you appreciate this objective breakdown of both sides of the issue, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Section 4, the path forward, finding community and hope. For a lot of people, the path forward isn't going to be found in a Senate hearing. It's found in quiet, face-to-face gatherings. Every single Thursday in the Manila suburb of Alabang, Regan holds an in-person meeting for people dealing with gambling addiction. He says, addiction we suffer in isolation. Doing recovery with friends makes our recovery much easier. Melvin, who actually attends these Thursday meetings, refers to his addiction as the monkey on his back. He says that whenever he's hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, that monkey just whispers at him to gamble. And fighting that voice alone, it's nearly impossible. Community is the ultimate antidote to the isolation of the smartphone screen. And that really brings us to Melvin's ultimate realization. He says, just for today, I have to arrest the gambling. He knows he can't promise to be clean for a whole year. He can only promise to fight it one single day at a time. In fact, this past Christmas, instead of isolating himself with an app, Melvin gathered some funds with his neighbors and threw a party for the local kids in his neighborhood, handing out small little prizes. He says he needs to focus on his own recovery first, with a profound hope that one day he'll be well enough to finally rejoin his wife and children. As the Philippines continues to grapple with this absolutely massive issue, I want to leave you with a really provocative question. And this is something that was asked directly on the floor of the Philippine Senate. How many lives are worth the extra revenue? And how should societies balance economic growth with citizen well-being? It is the ultimate tightrope walk, right? Balancing the funding of a nation's infrastructure against protecting its most vulnerable citizens from the relentless convenience of the digital age. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that question, so please jump into the discussion below in the comments. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. If you enjoyed this structured breakdown of such a complex issue, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so you never miss out as we continue to learn and explore these fascinating topics together. I will see you next time.